Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum coming to you live, and I'm very happy to be here. I'm doing a call from my office today. A lot of times I'm at the station. I'm here today because I wanted to be in the element of where we see patients and talk about what goes on here at the office and some of the miracles we saw today. I just got done with my morning shift, and I always try to keep a couple miracles in my pocket, and it's just really great when we are able to pull them out and help some people. So there was one woman who came in who had really terrible knee pain. She'd moved here recently. Both knees were pretty bad. The right was the worst. And we did a evaluation. I talked with her about what's happening. We ended up doing one of our soft wave therapy treatments on her. And the staff member came out and said, wow, she can't believe it. The pain's gone. That's relatively routine, not 100% of the time, but usually if it's going to work, we see a improvement, I'd say on 80% of the people. It might be slight, or it might be magical, like it was for me when I first used it on my arm in 2019, maybe. I could raise it 30% where I hadn't been able to lift it off my side at all. Anyway, so that was fantastic. So we helped her and we put her on the laser as well to migrate those stem cells into the area as well. And then another gentleman came up from the South Bay. He was working and doing a few different things, and he pulled his back out terribly, could barely even stand, let alone walk. And we talked to him. I talked to him when he was standing because he couldn't sit down. We did a set of films, and I found out what was going on in his back. And I was able to get an adjustment today. I did first a laser to take some inflammation out of the area. And then I was able to adjust the low back two different levels. The lowest bone is called L5. I moved that from the left to the right. And then the other L3 from right to left. They moved beautifully. And then he walked out of here with his wife at a pretty good clip. So I was very happy about that. But it just brings me back to thinking, why am I even doing this? Why am I here doing chiropractic? I've been doing it for 36 years now. And the real answer is because I'm excited about what happens. I'm so excited that we get to help people on a routine, regular basis by freeing up their body's own innate ability to heal itself. And that's really the key is I'm not really doing anything other than allowing your body to heal by removing interference. I'd say 80% of the time that's through adjustments of the spine, where we find bones that have been knocked out of place, whether it's an accident, injury, chronic sitting, jobs driving, sports that you played at many, many years ago. What ends up happening is those bones don't quite heal right. And then rather than pumping the way they're supposed to, they start to grind and they grind that disc away, which you can see here. And it almost looks like anybody over 30, you'd understand it almost looks like a worn out pencil eraser. Anybody under 30 doesn't know what a pencil eraser looks like. But what happens when you get a slip or a fall and a bone gets knocked out of place, usually it heals itself within a couple days and you're good, never have another problem with it again. But one out of 1,000 times it gets knocked out of place and it doesn't heal right. Now it grinds and grinds and grinds, and eventually, either right away or along the way, it's going to pinch that nerve. So I'm having my tie here and I'm pinching it. If that's a nerve coming out of my brain, going into my heart, and it's being pinched. Now, if it gets cut, like if I turn this light on and I cut it completely, say that light is the nerve flow, it won't work at all. But if there's pressure on it, it's not going to work as well. So it might beat too fast, too slow, too strong, too weak. And of course, you can get some kind of medication to combat that and handle the symptoms or mitigate them. And so you forget about the problem and go along with your life. But if you don't really solve the problem and get the power turned on again, eventually it's going to catch up with you. And this is what our country has been doing since the turn of the 1900s, the 19th century, or whatever century it was where it turned 1900. Because right along that time, my grandmother was born in 1883, and my grandpa on the other side, 1883, the other one 1892, sorry. These people came with all these remedies for colds, for, allergies, for broken bones, for anything and everything. What happened is Western medicine took over because of the Rockefellers in 1913 to 1620, and they started poo-pooing or closing down the hospitals of the ancient healing strategies. So those ancient healing strategies that have been passed down family to family, doctor to doctor throughout the centuries, those herbs and those different types of things that you might have an abundance of or scarcity of to cause the body to snap back into place were forgotten. And where has it got us? Well, it's got our the United States up in arms about this thing called healthcare, and it's really sickness care. So everything you hear is sickness care. Now, there's an emergency. I had a ruptured appendix, and I was glad to have emergency medicine that saved my life. But do you know that 76% of the United States population, 76% of us, that's 3 out of 4, have a chronic disease, at least one. 3 out of 4 of us have a chronic disease. 40% of the children have a chronic disease. Now, look, I'm going to be 70 years old in a couple months. When I was a kid, I didn't even know what a chronic disease was. Maybe there were a few people with some weird arthritides or arthritises or, asthmas and allergies that people may have gotten. But right now, 40% of the children have this. And 69 or 76% of the adults have this. It's really crazy. So we want to take a look at what has changed during that time. The human species is still the same. We have the same DNA, the same RNA. Our respiratory system still works, our circulatory system. We have 12 systems in our body: respiratory, musculoskeletal, digestive system, the nerve system, all these different types of systems. But the number one system that controls everything is called the nervous system. So the nervous system is from the brain, goes right down the center of your spine and controls every cell and organ in the body. You can see if you're watching this, I've lit up what's called the parasympathetic nervous system, or the vagus nerve that comes out of the top of the head and controls every cell and all of the what we call the rest and digest part of the body. So you have a few different types of nervous system. One is the stress, fight or flight mechanism. The other is the rest and digest mechanism. So when you're stuck in flight or flight, your body's chronically inflamed, and you will eventually cause arthritides or damage tissue, damage organs because of the heat that are put into those organs. Also, when your body's on fight or flight or it's inflamed, it shuts down the digestive system because you don't need to digest your food if you're running from a tiger. The digestive system is the fight or flight. Excuse me, the stress system or the sympathetic gets all your muscles pumped up so you can run. You don't even have to think, you just run. Okay, so your brain, your intellectual system shut down. You don't need to digest the food, so your digestive system shut down, and your immune system shut down because you don't have to worry about dying of a virus because you're going to be eaten by the tiger. So this is what has happened all of the beginning of 2020 with all of that stuff that went on for those 3 or 4 years. We were being chased by a tiger we couldn't see, touch, taste, feel. We didn't even know if it was there or not. But a lot of us felt like we were being chased or stalked by this thing. And that alone, because you couldn't ever get away from it, even in your own house, even driving your car by yourself, people were afraid of this thing. On the beach by yourself, out in the middle of nowhere, people were wearing masks 100 feet from anybody. It's like, whoa. Now the truth is coming out about the guy that kind of orchestrated this stuff, but that's not my purpose today. My purpose is to help you get your body healthy so you can live the dreams and goals that you want to live. I'm 70, going to be 70 in a couple months, and a lot of my patients have come up with me. Some of them have been here for over 30 years since I started practice. I walked around the neighborhood with a spine in my hand, knocking on doors, going, "Hi, did you lose this?" Holding the spine up. And it was kind of crazy and stupid, but I had no money. I just spent it all on chiropractic school and I didn't know what else to do. And I still have some of those patients today that come in that I knocked on their door 36 or 7 years ago, holding my spine because I had a mission, and that mission was to help people live healthier lives without having to take medications that cover them up. So, we're talking about the nervous system, the fight or flight mechanism, which is when that thing is constantly on, the rest and digest system is constantly off. You cannot drive with your feet on the brakes and the gas at the same time. So the brakes is the rest and digest system. The gas is the sympathetic or the fight or flight mechanism. So when you do this too long, like I'll give you an example. If I had two 10-pound weights in my arms and I lifted the right 10-pound weight and I did 10 reps every 3 hours for 4 months and did nothing with my right arm, one muscle would work, the other would be pretty atrophied, right? So that's what happens when you have, that's what happens when you have one system turned on too long. And if the sympathetic nervous system's going on too long, then you're going to have a lot of stress, a lot of cortisol. You're going to have your muscles are going to start to waste because you're not able to digest your food correctly. So what ends up happening is your body starts breaking down muscle to make fuel because it needs fuel to survive. It's going to survive no matter what, and it will eat up your body's available sugar, and then it will go after your protein when you're under constant stress. So this is one of the problems. When you're under constant stress, and as your body's eating up the protein, it's gonna destroy all but one organ. And I'll ask you what organ you think that might be. And the reason we know this is because when people die of anorexia, they are not eating, and their body is stealing a little bit from everywhere to survive until the emergency's over. So it's going, I'm going to just steal a little bit from every organ, every skin cell, the bone, the muscle, the brain. The only organ it doesn't affect is the heart. Why? Because you need the heart to survive. So when you look at somebody that unfortunately passed away from anorexia, you're going to find the heart is still the same size, but everything else is wasted. So that's how the body handles stress. So we have stress in our environment that's affecting our health. And this stress causes all kinds of diseases, thyroid dysfunction. That has stress on the thyroid. It can be toxicity. It could be lack of nutrients. It could be a pinched nerve in your neck because the nerve in your upper back that goes to your neck or to your thyroid comes out right out of the lower neck. So if I have that nerve from a whiplash and that nerve is being choked off going to my thyroid gland, could it possibly work right? Chances are no. So and when it doesn't work right, its immune system goes down, not just its function, but the thyroid has its own immune system that goes down. So now maybe you have an injury to your neck that's affecting the thyroid gland for a while. Then you get some kind of virus or bacteria or heavy metals or chemical toxicity from aluminum that's falling out of the sky from the jet fuel or glyphosate that you were spraying on your garden, hopefully not anymore. Forever chemicals that is in almost every household product. that gets in your body and it's going to attack the weakest point of the body. Right now, with that thyroid nerve being pinched and the thyroid's working at 50% instead of 100%, it's vulnerable for attack from that toxin and it will get into that gland and uh, shut it down. So now you have a chronic thyroid problem that's shut down because of chronic stress. Another part of it would be maybe, there's iodine has a lot to do with your thyroid gland. You've probably heard this before. So the thing about the iodine, if you ever remember your periodic chart in school, there's all these lines of elements. Well, iodine is in the same row as fluoride, chloride, bromide, iodide, and all of those are very friendly to the same receptor site on your thyroid gland as iodine. You need iodine. But if you ever played musical chairs before, and let's say you had four people playing, Mr. Iodine, Mr. Fluoride, Mr. Chloride, and Mrs. Bromide, and the music stopped and there were only three chairs, one's going to get left out. And because of the way the thyroid gland works with these receptor sites or chairs, when they get filled up with these other chlorides, fluorides, and bromides, because they're more abundant than iodine, especially if you live in the Midwest, they don't have enough iodine in their soil there. But when you get in the hot tub, when you're drinking chlorinated water, when you're brushing your teeth with fluoride toothpaste, all of that stuff is going to damage your thyroid gland because it's going to stick to those receptors and potentially create a problem to a weakened thyroid. Now, one of the cool things about our body is that when it's healthy, it will just shield all that stuff off. It's like, one of those superpower shields. It just blocks all that stuff. And that's the cool thing about our body and the fact that we do get exposed to all kinds of toxins in our life. Our body needs to have that stress in order to become strong. It's what builds strength is that a certain amount of stresses to the cells in fact, that's the only reason we can walk because of the stress over the decades and millennia of us standing and putting one foot in front of the other. Those bones got very strong because of that stress over time as our bodies developed. But when we have different viruses or when we have different bacteria in our environment, and when we get all of us these days are loaded up with toxic chemicals, heavy metals like mercury that comes down 4 generations through mom's umbilical blood, lead 4 generations through mom's umbilical blood, all of that does because it was embedded in mom's teeth or my generation, we used to chew the paint off of our cribs, which were lead based, and our parents probably did too. All of that stuff comes down into our being, into our body, and it will affect our body's ability to develop correctly. So it's really important that we pay attention to what we put in our body, but we are kind of like at the effect of what's already been done. And when we're looking at how we can be healthy, and I'm saying in the little line here, how we can enjoy our life, how can we get our dreams? You do it by keeping yourself healthy. We don't know how to do that as a nation. Don't ask me, look at the statistics. 76% of us have at least one chronic disease. According to a Michigan State University, 80 million Americans have more than one chronic disease. 80 million, I mean, we're only 300 and something million. So that's a quarter of the population have at least two chronic diseases, maybe more. We know that we're the most obese or heavyweight country in the industrialized world. When I was a kid, you never saw a kid that was overweight. Maybe one in all the school. There was Chucky and Richie. All right. Chucky was great because he couldn't tackle him playing football. And same with Richie. Get them both on one team and it was all over. You're done unless you were on their team. Now it's more common than not to have children that are not only overweight, but in the obese realm, which is 25% more than your normal weight. That would be considered obese. And when you look at the adult population, it's just amazing what we see. Now, what's the deal with the weight? The deal with the weight is number one, most of it is fat. Okay, it's excess fat. Very little of it is excess muscle. And fat is a storage house for toxins, heavy metals, molds, chemicals, all these things that if it was in your bloodstream would kill you. So your body's very smart despite all this, and it will pull a toxic limit out of your bloodstream and hide it in cells like fat cells and inert. It's like it sticks it in oil, like water and oil don't mix, right? So your blood is like water soluble, your fat is oil soluble, your brain's all oil or fat. So our body over a lifetime starts to accumulate these toxins in our fat cell, and that makes you sicker and sicker and sicker. It makes you weaker and weaker and weaker. Our body's supposed to get rid of this stuff. Just like when you vacuum up the floor, when it gets full, you dump out the little thing and vacuum again. But there's something called a filter in the vacuum. And when that gets clogged up with junk, little tiny little particles, that vacuum doesn't suck anymore. And when that vacuum doesn't suck, that stuff is just being circulated. That spinning thing is throwing dust all over the place, and it's just going to make a bigger mess. And that's what happens when our liver gets plugged. And our liver gets plugged from several things: toxic chemicals, glyphosate, forever chemicals, inflammation from food products that are man-made, artificial foods, uh, different colors, these type of things are very, very, very bad for the liver. The liver does a pretty good job for a while, but then it just can't keep up anymore. So now, just like the kitchen sink, rather than have the drain work real well, you're putting more dirty dishes in the sink, but it's clogged. Stuff starts to spill over, and it will start to spill over off the sink into the floor and flood the whole house with toxic waste if you're not careful. So what do? You unplug the sink. So, how do you unplug the sink in our body? How do you unplug the liver? It can be done, but it's not just the liver. There's so many other body parts involved. So, the liver is the number one filterer in the body, a big, huge tube of blood comes into the liver. If you're watching, there's this thing called the aortic artery, and then a big chute goes into the liver, and the liver filters the blood 4 times to 5 times a minute. Your blood circulates through the liver. You have 5 liters of blood in your body, and that should be cleaned. Also, the liver does a really cool thing. It's going to use its good friends, the kidneys, as a backup. The liver is going to digest all the oil soluble stuff, and it's going to end up in your colon, and then outside your body. And this thing called the gallbladder that so many people lose all the time is designed to hold bile and distribute it into the colon on demand. And we'll get into that in a second. But I want to talk about how the liver detoxifies the body. There's a there's like this little control unit at the liver that goes, okay, we got stuff, blood coming in. Some of it is going to be oil soluble, some is going to be water soluble. The body shifts it. It's called phase one and phase two, surprisingly enough. Phase one means the liver is just going to digest this oil soluble stuff and send it into the large intestine. Their bile is going to mix with it, which is breaks down fat into micelles, which are little fatty acids. So you need that oil to be broken into fatty acids so your body can make enzymes, um, neurotransmitters, hormones, and replace the cholesterol around your cells and in your brain. So this cholesterol fight against cholesterol is very dangerous. The phase two, when the liver goes, now I can't really take care of this. I'm just going to make it water soluble and send it over to my good friends, the kidneys. So then the kidneys are going to kick in. The kidneys are going to filter the blood and get the water soluble products out of there. So this goes hand in hand, and by the time you're done going to the bathroom 2 or 3 times a day, like you should, and eating well, you're not being exposed to toxic chemicals, you're drinking plenty of healthy, clean water, you're breathing air that isn't polluted too badly, you're exercising and you're getting enough sleep, and you're not under a lot of stress, you should live to be 130, 140 years old, like the Hinza people in Afghanistan, but do we? No. Right now, 76% of us have chronic disease. 40% of the children have chronic disease. Why? Because all these systems don't work right. And remember, there's 12 systems in the body. The number one system that controls them all is the nervous system. In fact, I was listening to a bunch of doctors today. We get together every Tuesday and talk for a while. And he was saying, remember Lord of the Rings? There were 7 rings, right? But only one master ring. And that master ring had power over all the other rings. Well, your body works the same way, except imagine 12 rings and one ring that is controls them all, and that's the nervous system. So, how much should we learn about the nervous system in school? Not very much, right? So, it's so important that we start to educate ourselves on that because if we knew how to be healthy, we'd be healthy. And we're not healthy. We're rated 80th in the world for health by some estimations, 50th by others. No matter what, we're not healthy. I'm going to take a short break and I will come back in just a couple minutes. Hey, this is Dr. Duncan McCollum, and I'm doing my radio show here. And I just wanted to take a minute to invite you all into my office. McCollum Family Chiropractic. I'm located in Capitola, right in the Brown Ranch Shopping Mall across from where Macy's is. There's a FedEx on one side and a nail place on the other. Same shopping center as Trader Joe's, but down towards the bottom. To when you're looking at Trader Joe's towards the right. Now, I've been in practice for 36 years, and I specialize in helping people live better lives. It's like so many people, we work hard, we get an education, go to school, we work, 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 then retire, and we can't do anything because our body's broken down on us. One of the biggest conditions I see and treat right now is called peripheral neuropathy. And we've been really, really successful in turning peripheral neuropathy around. Amazing success rate. So if you're suffering from peripheral neuropathy, you should give us a call, 831-459-9990. I don't charge to sit down and talk to you ever. Anybody who wants to come in and talk to me about their health condition, no charge to sit down and talk to me. If we can help you or we think we can, we'll tell you what the next step, which is for peripheral neuropathy, it's just a $99 fee, complete set of digital x-rays, examination, full neurological examination, a treatment with the soft wave therapy and the laser in my office so you can see how it works. And then that is also followed by a follow-up evaluation. And recommendation, if we think we can help you, we'll let you know. If not, we won't tell you. We'll tell you we can't. 831-459-9990. Call today, 831-459-9990. Okay, I'm back. So that was a commercial, just inviting people into the office because, I get talking and I forget to do that. So we do treat peripheral neuropathy. I'll come back to that in a minute. Right now, we're talking about bodies that are stopping you from being able to enjoy the life that you've always dreamt of enjoying. So we all work hard. I'll tell you, I just had my first grandkid. He's now 8 weeks old. And he's got the greatest smile. My daughter's so lucky, and the dad is so lucky to have such a kind, happy baby. Now, remember what luck is? It's where hard work and preparation meet. Now, there is the luck of the draw there, but Natalie worked very hard for years to make sure she had a healthy, clean body without the least amount of toxicity that she could. She's detoxed many times, watched her food, exercise, clean lifestyle, and not binging on things. And when her baby came, even though he was 2 weeks late, 9 pounds, 9 ounces, 23.5 inches long, almost 2 feet. Healthy as you could be, healthy as could be. Very, very happy baby. Now, part of that is luck, and the other part is luck. Which luck am I talking about? One of them is that she prepared to have a healthy baby and she worked hard for that. She's been doing the right things for a long time. She's been under chiropractic care since the day she was born. So, just like her son, Woodrow, I checked him within probably a few, maybe 30 minutes of being born. I checked him. Coming down that path is pretty rough. That birth canal. Just imagine, and she was in labor for 40 hours. Remember those contractions, is pushing that head down through that pelvic floor. And then what could happen to that little neck? You're supposed to hold it when the baby's born. You're not supposed to let it do this. Just imagine coming down that pelvic floor like that. So, of course, we check people right when they're born or as soon as we can. If you know anybody that has children, send them this way. Or if you've been ever been born yourself and you haven't been checked, you should get checked. Why? Because it will, for several reasons, but that very top bone in your neck called the atlas, that is the bone right up here that controls all of the organs. The parasympathetic fight or flight mechanism turns it on and off. Also, those nerves go up into the head. They control in your neck, they control the thyroid all the way down the arms. They go to the heart and the lungs. They keep those working. Just imagine pressure on one of those 31 nerves that come out of your spine. So you have 31 nerves that come out of your spine that go to 75 trillion cells. 75 trillion cells. And this is a cell, by the way. If you're watching this, you can always watch my stuff on McCollum, Dr. Duncan McCollum YouTube. And I would encourage you to. Um, at any rate, I think I just lost one of my feeds. But the main thing is, I'm just going to turn on this again. All right, sorry to stop talking for a sec. The main thing for us to understand is that your body is made up of 75 trillion cells. These cells are what life is. When you eat, this little thing in here called the mitochondria, it looks like a peanut inside your cell. That's the only thing that burns fuel. It burns glucose, which is sugar, or it burns ketones, which are fat. And so when you eat, you think, oh, this is going into my stomach. I'm full now. But it isn't the stomach thing that's important. It's that those food stuffs are broken down and delivered to every cell of your body, all 75 trillion of them. And it's all, I think actually this is where DoorDash came from, because every cell in your body requires something different than the other cell. Groups of cells require things different from other groups of cells, like the liver cells might require something different than the kidney cells. In fact, they do. A certain amount of vitamins, minerals, amino acids, fatty acids, neurotransmitters, hormones, all that stuff. They require different. And within the liver, different parts of the liver, different cells in the liver require different components of what you're putting into your body. And your DoorDash in charge is going to figure it out, break down your food, and deliver it to every cell and organ in your body on demand. And it's not going to be late, and they're not going to overcharge you. Well, maybe they will. And they're not going to eat the stuff before you get there, but maybe they will. Why? Because your body's so stressed out, so overworked, that the chronic stress, which is turning on this fight or flight mechanism, turning off the parasympathetic nervous system, doesn't allow the food, once it gets into your stomach, to digest correctly. Your enzymes are not being created inside your stomach. Your acid, you have this hydrochloric acid that's made in your stomach. If I took hydrochloric acid of pH of 2 and dropped it on the desk, it would eat a hole in the desk. That's created in your stomach when you eat protein like meat and other proteins. Other digestive enzymes are excreted from the cells in the inside of your stomach to break up with that food as it's churned around and then push it into the small intestine and then into the colon and then out of your body. And it's like a processing plant. I said that incorrectly. Pushing it out of your body? No, it's through your body because your whole digestive tract is not in your body. It's a tube going through your body. And basically, all the enzymes and the different chemical reactions and um, uh, ins and outs of the cell walls, the things that absorb through the cell walls, it's taking stuff from the outside of your body and bringing it into your body. There's a tube that goes through your body. The If you blew through that tube, that's also outside of your body. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's called ectoderm. Ecto means outside of. All of my skin is ectoderm. When I go in my mouth and all the way down my digestive system and out the other end, that's all the same. It's made of ectoderm from embryonic development. Endoderm, inside skin, derm means skin, is anything inside of that, the skin of your body or the tube that goes through your body. That food is put down through this ectoderm body. Why is that important? Yeah, it may or may not be for you to understand, but it's kind of cool to understand that your body's like a chute. It's like if you stacked a bunch of donuts up on each other and there's that hole down the middle, that's the skin on the inside of that donut hole is the same as the outside. That's how your body's made. So you want to protect that. It gets damaged from heavy metals, molds, bad foods that you're putting in it, inflammatory foods. That's why gluten is such a problem. Highly processed foods, uh, food dyes, additives. There's something like 15,000 additives that the FDA is allowed to be put into our food in our country, where other countries won't let it in. So it's so important that we learn how to keep our body healthy. You got to start putting good stuff in it, but you also got to fix what's damaged. A lot of times people come in and they say, I've been eating really well for the last 20 years, and they're like 80. Well, it ain't the last 20 years, it's what you did for the first 60 years. Because just changing your diet doesn't mean that you're going to heal what damage was done. Your body needs the energy to do that because your body needs energy to heal. Tired bodies don't heal. When you're eating bad food, your body gets tired and it can't heal. You get chronic disease. When you have chronic disease, any kind of chronic condition, your body does not have enough energy to heal. So what does it do? It stays in a stressed point. It stays in a stress mode. That's when your immune system is weak because when you're in stress, remember, your immune system shuts down, your digestive system shuts down, your mental acuity shuts down because you don't need to think. You don't need to um, digest that food and you don't need to kill that bacteria. Because stress, your body doesn't know the difference of a tiger chasing you or mental stress. That's stress equals stress as far as it goes. So we need to learn how to undo that stress in our body today. This could be walking 10 minutes a day after a meal. You might start with that and then pick it up a little bit. Be careful not to overdo it. Make sure you're drinking good water. We have hydrogen water here, amazing. You can get hydrogen water, those little bottles. We have them on our website, or you can find them online. And it will put more hydrogen molecules instead of H2O, it's H2H2O. And those extra H2s, when they get into your body, since hydrogen is the smallest molecule on the planet, it can go through every cell wall. It can go right through these cells' walls and right through the mitochondria cell wall and go in there where power is made inside the mitochondria, something called ATP. Remember, STP is the racer's edge. Well, in your body, ATP is your body's energy edge. And when it makes energy, if it can't get rid of it, it sits around there, smokes, and it just gunks up the cell and it turns on bad genes, and you end up with genetic conditions, very things like even cancers. We all have Alzheimer genes, cancer genes, all these different type of things. And we don't want those to turn on. And the way we stop them from turning on is by number one, if you have an itch and you keep scratching it, it's going to start bleeding. Quit itching in the first place. Whatever you're doing that is handling or covering up the symptom, but not solving the underlying problem, you got to, unless it's a medicine that you've been prescribed by a medical doctor, because I'm not going to tell you not to take it, but you got to find a new route. You know, the old saying is if you keep doing the same thing and get the same results and you want something different to happen, you better change it or you're, I don't have to say it, Einstein already did. So, where do we go from here? Number one, you just start to decide to do something different. I was at a seminar out at Fort Lauderdale, never been there before, went out with this incredible group of entrepreneurs, doctors, investment people, all these machines like hydrogen machines, weight loss machines, soft wave therapy machines, brain function machines. And all these people have one thing in mind. They want to help people get healthier. And just like me, almost every one of them is there because they had to fix themselves first before they could fix somebody else. And that's me. I have a lot of stuff in my office. In fact, I just ordered a hydrogen machine from that weekend, hydrogen gas. I already have hydrogen water, and that stuff's cool. I have it in my house, in my girlfriend's house, and here at the office. And that's really good to help digestion. The hydrogen is going to get the inflammation out of your gut, improve and restore digestive function and colon function and things like that. But hydrogen gas is pretty cool. You have a little whatever they're called that you put in your nose and a little tube. You see people walking around with oxygen. Well, this hydrogen that you put in through your nose gets into the brain. It can cross any membrane because it's the smallest molecule on the planet. Will cross those membranes, get into the brain, help find free radicals and free them up. There's also some ear set that comes with it. So you're pumping hydrogen into your ears. When I did this, I have tinnitus and I've been working to get rid of it for a long time. And a lot of my patients are saying, tell me when you figured it out. And I have lasers that help with tinnitus. I have different machines that I've been working with. But this machine, I put it on my ear for 20 minutes. My tinnitus reduced by about 20% for a day or so. So to me, I bought it. I go, that's it. I got to have this. My goal is to have a healthy body so I can enjoy my life. And a healthy relationship means I have to be able to hear what my spouse is saying. I'm already, because of who I am and my part of the species, we already have a hard time listening anyway. So I don't want to cause any problems because of a physical impairment if I can do something about it. So hydrogen is the newest thing that looks like it might be able to help this. So anyway, this is Dr. McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic. I'm in Capitola. I never charge to talk to people about their problems, hopefully health problems. To come in and want to talk to me about financial problem, I'm probably not an expert, so I wouldn't tell you about that. Um, but if you have a health concern and you're tired of the solutions that you've been offered, maybe you want to come talk to me. I'll tell you about two people today, two others. I started with one set of people that we could help. And the other one was referred in by somebody I know. It's not this young gentleman in his maybe 50s, came in with a cane, so much pain in his lower rib, which is right above the hip, both sides, could barely stand. As I talked to him, he told me he's already had 8 surgeries on his wrists, 4 on each, surgery on his ankle, surgeries in his spine. And when he showed me his x-rays, from the top, right between the shoulders, all the way down to the last rib in his back, Harrington rods, 3 rods, 2-inch screws put into every single vertebra of his, what we call the thoracic spine. Lumbar spine, from the sacrum L5, L4, the bottom two vertebra, screws put in from the front and the back. So there were three vertebrae left between a fully fused 12 on top and a fused three on the bottom or two on the bottom. So there were three in the middle. He also had two discs in his neck, man-made discs. And he came in so much pain. He was doing something, he fell off a roof. I don't know why he was on the roof, but the only shock absorption he had in his entire spine were three vertebrae between a very heavy, stiff upper spine full of three Harrington rods and the bottom, which were screwed together. And I think what happened is that one support bottom disc or bone has got a major problem with it. And I talked to him, I showed him, I asked about why this all happened, and I was very sorry that I didn't think I could help him. And I did do a laser on him, and I haven't talked to him since to see if we could at least help the inflammation. Another person is somebody that came in with a really very, very bad condition on their hand. And they've given up on all Western medicine. We've been working with them, and it's a very difficult case. Um, she went to see a hand specialist. They want to replace joints in her hands, and they can't operate on her now because she's too inflamed. Oh, how do we get into this stuff? I mean, I've been there. I broke my back when I was 12, unbeknownst to me, falling out of a tree that I was sitting on a branch and the branch broke. 8 years, all I did was drug myself. First, the ones mom gave me, then the ones I could find on the streets in the 70s, and they were pretty bad stuff. Almost killed me. I almost had to end it because of the addiction, because of the pain, the suffering, the lack of understanding, the lack of willingness to try yet one more thing. However, two people picked me up and carried me, put me in my own pickup because I hadn't walked for 3 weeks now. When I was 20, I helped somebody move a piano. I didn't know my back was broken. We hit the ceiling with an upright, grand old piano, and I was down for the count, and I couldn't move. Two people put me in my own pickup on my own couch. They took out of my living room and drove me down to downtown Santa Cruz to Dr. Anthony York. Maybe some of you remember him. He was carried in. He asked them to hold me up while he took an x-ray. He's the first guy to come up to me and look at my back and poke on the x-ray and say, "When did you break your back?" Now, I got to tell you, I get emotional every time I talk about this because I was ready to end it all because I was not going to be a 20-year-old with no use of my lower limbs. Some people can do it, I couldn't. And but he gave me my first adjustment that day and I walked out. I was still in pain, but I walked out on my own accord. It took a while more for this drug-ridden head of mine to realize that my body did have the ability to heal itself. I just had to eliminate the things that were causing the problem, and I had to put in the right things so my body could rebuild itself to a point that it would heal. And I did do that. That was when I was 20, that was 50 years ago. Then I had my first chiropractic adjustment. I've been adjusted at least once a week ever since. Why do I get adjusted every week? Because I want to stay healthy. We do what's called corrective care here. We don't patch people up. There's better people in the area to do that. One of my staff asked me why, and I go, well, look, if I was a house painter and I came to your house and you said the sheetrock's coming off, and I saw termites under there, and I put sheetrock up and painted it and said that will be $1,000, you wouldn't like me very much eventually. Well, that was a wall. I'm not going to do that with your spine. So when I take a look at whether I can help you, I'm either wanting to do really help you. Maybe we have to patch you up for a while, but my goal isn't to patch you up until the next emergency. I don't think it's fair to you. It's really much harder when people are in pain to fix them. So if you're one of the people that really want to get healthy and you just want to talk to me, maybe you don't have a big problem. Maybe it's small. Maybe it's tremendous and you just don't think anything can work. Why not come talk to me? McCollum Family Chiropractic, Capitola, 831-459-9990. The worst thing that can happen is you be the same. Like this gentleman that came in with almost a complete steel spine. I did a laser on them. I wasn't going to do anything else. Lasers are three different color lights, green, violet, and red, that reduce inflammation and create energy in the cell. I talked about the mitochondria earlier. It will supercharge the mitochondria, meaning your cell has more energy. Remember, tired bodies don't heal, tired cells don't heal. So one way you have to heal is you got to remove the things that are making the people exhausted. It might not just be they need more sleep. It might be the food they're eating or the food that they've eaten that is clogging up their arteries, clogging up their cells and their organs. It could be addictions to different types of foods that you don't even know. You could have a chronic inflammatory condition affecting things like your thyroid gland, your lungs, your heart, your liver. Maybe you just have such severe arthritis in your spine from accidents and injuries and playing sports as a kid that you just need to have it oiled and lubricated. And, like the guy came in today who walked out, said, yeah, I felt like the Tin Man. I just need to be lubricated. And he walked out. It was amazing. He couldn't stand for more than 30 minutes, 30 seconds in here. And he and his wife, they came all the way up from South County. And, I'm not done with him. I'm got to make sure that he can keep working. But today his quality of living is better. And our first goal is to help you with your quality of living today. My mother-in-law just passed away last night or 2 nights ago. Poor Beth, a wonderful woman, 104 years old, never on one drug her whole life. 104. I tell that story, I've told it many times about blood pressure meds. She gave it back to the doctor and said, I tested it 4 times for 4 days. I don't have high blood pressure. You keep it. And she never was on it. So, I would love to meet you. This is Dr. Duncan McCollum, McCollum Family Chiropractic in Capitola, 831-459-9990. Give a call. Say you heard me on the radio and you want to come talk to me. You can go to my website, McCollumFamilyChiropractic.com, McCollum, McCollum, familychiropractic.com, and there's all kinds of specials. You can get x-rays, you can get this soft wave therapy treatment, you can do the peripheral neuropathy stuff, you can find out about their diets, you can get my book, Turn Back Your Biological Clock. And there's so much more that I am doing than I have time to talk about here. But maybe you're one of those people that says there's got to be something else I can do. I am so tired of being sick and tired. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. If I don't think I can help you, believe me, I will tell you because I don't like failure. We all fail. And sometimes we try our best, and maybe on a few people it doesn't work. But I would rather give it a try than not. Why? Because your life depends on it, your enjoyment of life depends on it. And my goal is to help you live as best a life as you can. The only way I know how to do that is to make sure that your cells and organs are working. The number one system in your body is the nervous system, comes out of your brain, goes all the way down to every cell and organ in your body. Remember, there's one cell at the beginning of life. It's split up to 75 trillion. And the best thing that you can do to keep them healthy is have somebody check it and educate you and help you remove the damage and help the body repair. 831-459-9990. I'd love for you to come in and talk to me. And 831-459-9990. We'll see you next week.